Okay, thank you, Andrea, and thanks everybody for joining. I usually start with questions. I will, just because people tend to join as clinic finishes up in the morning, so I like to start with what you all are interested in, and then go to kind of hot topics. So I will be talking about the new CDC guidance for vaccinated individuals this afternoon, but if there are other things that are on your mind, please let me know so that we can start with what's worrying you or what you're thinking about. And you can chat it also if you would prefer that. No question. Well, I'm sure everybody's seen the news about CDC updating guidelines for vaccinated individuals. And it's kind of, to me, one of the first real bright spots we're starting to see in the pandemic. So the new guidelines say that vaccinated individuals can gather in small groups in private areas without a mask and without observing physical distancing. So that means if like me, who my grandparents are getting vaccinated, my parents will be vaccinated soon. I can't wait for us to all give each other a hug soon. And so they don't live here, I'd be doing it right now. But so that's probably the biggest change. They also said that vaccinated individuals can gather with unvaccinated individuals from one household without a mask. And that is only if nobody's sick and if the individuals who are unvaccinated don't have any risk factors for severe COVID disease. So those are probably the biggest changes and a chance for some getting things back to normal here pretty soon. So I'm encouraging everybody to get their vaccine and attended a great webinar yesterday about the different kinds of vaccines and how to have conversations with people of color about the COVID vaccines, with particular emphasis on Latinx and African American populations. So that was really good, and I'm happy to answer any questions about that too. The new guidelines do not apply to business places, so it wouldn't change because we're masked. We still need to physical distance when we're at work and wear a mask.
Thank you, Dr. Chrysler. Do you mind sharing what you took away from that webinar yesterday?
Yeah. So I think the biggest takeaways from the webinar for me were everybody should get whatever vaccine is most available to them when it's available, as soon as it's available. And when we want to talk to people about their concerns about vaccines, we should start with whatever those concerns are. So like all really good conversations, we should spend enough time listening to what people's concerns are so that we can address the specific concerns as opposed to just sharing whatever information we have and trying to sort of convince people that they should get the vaccine. So meet people where they are, find out what their concerns are, and for this webinar, like understanding how all the vaccines work really well so that you can help people address their concerns. So those were kind of the key takeaways for me. We talked about the concern about microchips, and Dr. Pahood said the same thing that I've been saying, like, yes, I do have a microchip that tracks me. It is my cell phone, and I paid good money and continue to pay good money for somebody to be able to track me and have lots of information about me. But we are really not good enough to inject microchips into people. We don't have that technology to be able to track people that way.
Thank you, Dr. Chrysler. Do you mind also touching on the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine and some concerns that have been raised within our Catholic families and churches?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, as many of you have probably heard, there was a new vaccine that received emergency use authorization. So we now have 3 vaccines available in the U.S. So one is a Moderna product, one is a Pfizer product, and the third is a Janssen product or J&J vaccine. So the Moderna and the Pfizer product are both the same vaccine technology, and we talked about this before, but they have to be given in 2 doses. Pfizer is 3 weeks apart, Moderna is 4 weeks apart. And the J&J or the Janssen vaccine is a different mechanism, and it's a more similar vaccine to other vaccines that are already in use. So kind of older technology to produce the vaccine. So the big advantage of it right now is that it's a one-shot deal. So it is very protective against hospitalization and death with one shot, and still has good protection against any disease. So still waiting to see whether that will, like, there will be a booster recommended with the Janssen vaccine, but it is it doesn't have to be stored at those very cold temperatures. And because you don't have to come back for a second shot, it's really has the potential to reach a lot more people and to be able to like take it out into the community and give it a lot easier than you would the other vaccines. There was recently a statement by one of the local bishops about oh, hello? Can you hear me still?
I hear you.
Okay, sorry. I thought I muted myself. There was a statement about one of the local bishops related to cell lines coming from fetal stem cells. So for those that don't know, there is some vaccines are created from like decades old cell lines from fetal stem cells, and certain religions have who oppose abortion have concerns about, even though there's no fetal tissue in any of the vaccines, and these are not new fetal stem cells, but because the original technology was created using fetal stem cells, there are some concerns about specific vaccines. And so that was one concern that was raised, is that because Pfizer and Moderna were were not formed because the technology is different. There were no fetal stem cells used, that it might be better for people who have religious concerns to get those other two vaccines. Now, I will say that the caveat to that is if those other two vaccines are available. So what I recommend people do, because these issues come up for me frequently in clinic, children get a lot of vaccines and there are different concerns raised about religious concerns for various reasons. So I generally go over with the family what those reasons are, and advise them if they have concerns to talk to their trusted religious leader, and make the decision from there. So my personal advice is people should get whatever vaccine they can as soon as it's available to them. But if people have religious concerns, I recommend that they speak to their personal religious advisor. Did that answer your question, Andrea?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Chrysler? I know several people just like to get on and listen to the updates, and so that's completely fair as well. And we're glad that you're here with us, but in case people have questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Hi, this is Yvonne. I just wanted to know, who do we add patients to the list? Who do we contact? I saw a type 1 diabetic yesterday, 41-year-old. So I think she could use the vaccine. And I sent an email to Carla, but I was just wondering if that's the appropriate person.
Yeah, you can, Brandy's been keeping a list. So just for people to know, we have been sending blast text messages to people who are in phase 1 and phase 2. No, I'm sorry. We've been sending blast text messages to people to see if they want the vaccine, and calling depending on phases. So did your patient happen to mention whether they've received a text from us at all?
She said she did not, and she asked me if it was available and if she could have it.
Okay.
So I told her I would ask if she could receive it.
Yeah, so it's not yet available to her under the Kansas vaccination plan, which we are following. So the Kansas vaccination plan is.
I've seen other people who are younger than the 65 who have already received a vaccine.
Yeah, so it's so we're in phase 2 of the vaccination plan, which is certain critical workers, including like K through 12 teachers, and then 65 plus, and then those who are 16 to 64 with certain high risk conditions are in phase 3, which has not begun yet. So,
So she'll be in phase 3.
Yeah, she'll be in phase 3. And right now we are on a weekly basis communicating with the health department. So all vaccine allocation in Kansas right now is going to the county health departments, and the county health department is sharing a small amount with us each week, so 50 to 100 doses, and they have 3 mass sites that they're running and don't have enough to run those, to fully utilize those mass sites. So that's why they're giving us just a small amount. But we've been calling our high risk, or our patients, sorry, in phase 2, to come in and get scheduled for a vaccine when we know we have it. Because usually we find out maybe the week before, if we're lucky, how many doses we're going to get. And then we need to give those doses. When we got the Pfizer vaccine, it was already thawed. So like we got it on a Monday and we needed to give it before Wednesday. So it's pretty quick turnaround time for those things. But yeah, that patient will be in phase 3. And what will happen is Brandy will do a report of all the patients in that phase and send a mass text in Spanish and English to see if people are interested. And then those who say yes will get further instructions about how to receive the vaccine. We're a ways away from being able to just give it in clinic as people come in. Unfortunately, it's just because of the storage and how quickly the vials have to be discarded once you puncture them. We just can't risk wasting vaccine by opening it for one patient in clinic. I'll be really happy when we're to the phase where we can keep it in clinic and just give it to people as they come in for their appointments, but we're not there yet.
The health department did move today to allowing those that are 65 and older to just walk in to any one of their 3 sites without an appointment. So they're hoping that that then helps to reduce the barriers with some of our families that are not English speaking predominant, that they can just walk in and not have to worry about having access to the website or knowing how to fill out the form online. So I'm excited to see how that will go for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 65 plus who live in Wyandotte County, right? I think you said that.
Yes, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not sure everybody here knows, but we did call all of our 65 plus patients. We did not rely on them to respond to a text or to have to sign up on a website or anything like that. And that was some great feedback from a staff member who said, hey, my 85-year-old grandma didn't get your text, so we're all learning together, I think. But
Dr. Kreisler, do you know, oh, sorry, I have an echo. Of those patients that we vaccinated over 65, what percentage came in to get it? Or of our patients over 65, what percentage came in?
I don't know off the top of my head, but anecdotally, people were very willing to come in and get it in that group.
Great.
I think Brandy would have the actual number for you, but
okay.
We've had very few people that we've called that have refused, at least in that age group, for sure. Some people couldn't come in at whatever time or whatever day. So we are actively discussing how we will meet the needs of those patients that need after hours or a Saturday. We just, because we don't have any commitment at this time to getting any amount of vaccine on any given week, it's a little hard to plan for that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Kreisler, I put in the chat the link to the YouTube video that you had sent out a couple of months ago on how the technology of this vaccine works. So in case anybody wants to go through that, it was a pretty good video just to get a good understanding of this new technology and really to the point. So if you get a chance, check it out.
Yeah, that's great. And Dr. Pahood yesterday had a really great way of explaining it too that I liked. So people worry about like this idea of messenger RNA, altering your DNA or causing cancer, things like that. And she was explaining it like the messenger RNA is like if you were going to make lasagna and I am telling you how to make lasagna. So I give you the recipe by telling you, you need this many tomatoes, you need this much beef, you need that much cheese. And then you make the lasagna based on what I tell you. But there's no recipe left, right? You've heard the instructions and you did it and then it's done. So there's nothing sticking around to cause any change to your DNA or to cause cancer later. So I thought that was a really nice way of explaining the messenger RNA too, that it's like just shouts out the instructions to make the antibodies. So if you don't have the like 8 minutes or whatever that YouTube video is, 15, that's the really quick version.
I also put, Yvonne, the phases for Kansas right now in the chat, if that's helpful to anyone. All right, well, I know we're coming up to the end of time. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to type them in the chat or unmute and share them.
Or you can email me later, but honestly, if you have a question, someone else probably has it too, so.
All right, Dr. Chrysler, well, thank you so much. And thank you again for all of you who took your time to log in and hear the updates. And we hope that it was helpful for you, and we'll be doing this again in April. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys then.
Hopefully more good news to share about vaccine, especially.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Andrea, for hosting.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.